Happy Sunday morning, everybody. It is Sunday, June the 1st, 2025, and it's a beautiful morning here in Western North Carolina. I hope you've had a fantastic week and you're ready to worship now. Today is Ascension Sunday, and it's also graduation Sunday in a lot of churches. So they're honoring the graduates today. Thank you, Suzette, for the beautiful arrangement that you've got set up here. That's her diploma from Miami University, and I was actually able to find my high school tassel yesterday. So that's Wes Caldwell. So all the warriors that are watching this morning, yeah, it's been 40 years now since we graduated. But thank you so much for tuning in today, and we will go ahead and get started. I've got just a good mix of a lot of different songs today. Not a particular theme or anything today, but I hope you're blessed by the program. Let's get started with Down from His Glory. So we've got the table prepared, and Jesus says, come and dine. So I hope you enjoy. Come and dine. Next up is a wonderful old hymn of the church, God, Our Help in Ages Past. change directions quite a bit to go from a hymn that old to a newer song, a wonderful Bill Gaither number, "It Will Be Worth It All." Indeed, it will be worth it all when we get to heaven. A lot of times we wonder, why, God? Why am I going through the trials that I'm in right now? I don't understand. Well, sometimes it's not meant for us to understand at the time that we're going through it, but we will eventually. And one day when we get to heaven and we see His face, it will be worth it all. Next up, and it goes well with this, I think, the unseen hand. There is an unseen hand guiding me through this life, through the good times and the bad. He's always there with me. Next up, Jesus paid it all. Jesus has paid it all for us. Next up, whispering hope. Indeed, we do have the hope in Jesus Christ, and it is such a comfort to us. We know He's with us. And again, I keep saying, no matter what we go through, He is always there. Because so many times we need to be reassured of that fact, because sometimes, let's be honest, we don't feel Him. And we know that we're going through things and we need help. I'm like, Lord, where are you? Do you not hear me? But I know that He does, because His Word says so, and that is what we stand on. All right, next up, Pat Turner. Today is your 85th birthday. So happy birthday to Pat Turner, and she requested that I would do Angels Will Carry Me Home. So I hope you enjoy. Angels Will Carry Me Home. Whee! All right, next up, there's room at the cross for you. Seems like I've been talking a little bit about the trials and troubles, which actually I talk about that a lot, but it's to reassure us that God is with us, God will help us, and God will take care of you. Promise we will start picking the tempo up in a little bit, but these are the requests that you send in, and that's what I try to focus on every week. All right, next up, I need thee every hour, and indeed I sure do. I need the Lord every minute of every day. Y'all know that most of the songs that we play on the program are a lot of the older hymns and songs, because I really try to focus on those. But sometimes I will work in some of the newer ones, and this was a request for this week, and it's a wonderful, wonderful praise song, and it's called The Goodness of God. Next up is another request. It is called For All My Sin. And this is a total new one to me. I was not familiar with it. So thank you to the person that requested a new one to add to the repertoire. Actually, I can't wait to play that one on the pipe organ over at the Methodist Church. And just a little update, I do appreciate so much Story Memorial Presbyterian letting us be here since January because my piano at the Methodist Church has been in the shop, having to get some repairs done. And it's just taking a lot longer than he anticipated because the company that supplies the parts keeps sending the wrong parts. They're just having a lot of issues there at the supplier. Otherwise, it would have been back a long time ago. So one of these days we will be back at the Methodist Church and you'll get to hear some pipe organ music again also. All right, we're getting down towards the end. I've got about 4 more we're going to get in. And next up, since it is Ascension Sunday, oops, get things caught here. I'm going to do one called Redemption Draweth Nigh. Indeed, it can't be much longer before the Lord calls us all home and redemption will draweth nigh. All right, next up. Oh, this is a fun one. I love to play this one. I also love to hear a good Southern gospel choir sing this one. What a Meeting in the Air. Singing that one in my mind this morning. So I've got two more to do this morning. And next up, I remember well, Stoey and Elaine Langford used to sing this one. Elaine wouldn't get up and sing in church, except her husband could coax her into this one. And I enjoy this one. It's called I've Been Changed. So lastly, David Hensley had presented a little challenge. And so I'm going to do When We All Get to Heaven. And then he was wanting that at some point I would play it very fast, but also very staccato. In other words, I'm not going to use the sustain pedal whatsoever. So let's see how this goes this morning. When We All Get to Heaven. have enjoyed it. And this morning, especially for my parents, I have a special guest with me who gets on here every once in a while. So I've got my son Alex with me this morning. He was awake already whenever I got up this morning, so I said, all right, son, go ahead and get your clothes on. You're going with me this morning, rather than me having to make a couple extra trips this morning. So, morning, Mom and Dad. Nice surprise for you and everybody else. So, thank you for tuning in today. I hope the program has been a blessing to you. Be sure and share it with your friends, so that together we spread the gospel, the good news of Jesus Christ to a lost and dying world. Be blessed, be a blessing. The Lord's willing, I'll see you next week. Bye.